Holy crap! That is literally dead wood.
Hey everybody, been a couple weeks, but as you'll soon see, it's been a pretty challenging couple weeks of bowling. The first week I'm talking about, I felt was kind of boring. I didn't really have a good way to make a video about it. And then last week was just a complete disaster zone. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it because I've been in a sort of rough place about it since this past week of bowling, and I want to make sure I share that. It's been a bit of a downer having a really rough week like that, and then working on coming back from it effectively. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk about how these last 2 weeks went, talk about where I've been feeling, what I'm trying to do to get better, and work on it from there. So let's go ahead and just go back and have a look. So 2 weeks ago was kind of a boring, mundane night. I sort of started off with not being totally comfortable in the ball. I'm not sure how much of that had to do with mechanics, how much of it had to do with thumb stuff, how much of it had to do with just being in the wrong ball and still not being in a good place with regards to how this league starts. A lot of shots where it was just coming off my hand poorly. And that's the thing I need to be getting and practicing a fair bit still. It wasn't that where I just couldn't really get comfortable, at least for the first couple of games. My strike shot was kind of for crap, and I really had a hard time getting the ball off my hand consistently. I would miss left, I would miss right. I just sort of was spraying it. And some of that, I think, is still down to push away inconsistency in terms of where my arm is going, which is the thing I tried to focus on that night, and it's a thing I'm going to be focusing on a lot of practices. But it also just didn't get off my hand very well a lot. It wasn't all doom and gloom, though. I did have a fair number of really good shots over the course of the night. Just in the first couple games, I wasn't able to carry on many of them, and it took a long time to really get consistent with that. But I had a few times where the ball came off my hand well, and it felt really good. And all kind of did come together in Game 3, where I was finally able to shoot a 200. Things were smooth, things were easy, I got comfortable, even if they didn't always carry pretty. And I ended up shooting a good game and coming away with it, feeling like I had a good night. What helped matters is that even though my strike mechanics were a little weird, my spare shooting was really solid. I missed a couple complicated spares, but I didn't miss any single pins. It was great. Actually, whatever was going wrong wasn't affecting my spares. And so that put me in a place where I was trying to look for things that were wrong with my strike release and figuring out that things were pretty much fine overall with my timing and mechanics. Unfortunately, that didn't really carry over into the next week. So last week, I felt pretty good in practice, but then the very first ball I throw in competition, it sticks on my thumb, hangs up, gets yanked right to the middle. And then the same thing happens on my spare shot. And it just kind of goes downhill from there. In retrospect, once I actually look back at this video, I'm not throwing the ball that bad, at least in the first game or two. It's just that a little bit of inconsistency on my thumb is making things really feel weird, and I'm not able to get very consistent with things coming off my hand. And unlike the previous week, the way my thumb pad sort of swelled up also affected my spare shooting. And that meant I wasn't able to get comfortable and trust anything. And when I can't trust my shot, I don't throw it with confidence, and it ends up hitting weak pockets like this. And that was kind of where the first couple games were. I would have a bunch of weak pocket hits and miss the spares. And that's a really hard time to have a confident man like that. And that's how you shoot sub 400. Where you go 120, 140, 120 for a 397. Yeah, that kind of night. And then at a later point, my mechanics start getting really bad. I start compensating for everything. I have a high spot of a pretty cool spare shoot. but it's really getting better from there. The just lack of confidence from that point in my mechanics and my footwork just makes everything get worse and sort of snowballs from there. Is I keep my speed gets inconsistent, my release gets inconsistent, I shank it on spares like this. It just highlights the importance of being comfortable and how things really should feel from shot to shot, and I just couldn't. And it's sort of all manifested at the shop where I stick, come over the line, spend some time staying on oil, lose a strike, and then I'm not confident in my footwork. I have to compensate for that, and things start hurting at this point. My knee is rough, my elbow starts getting really bad. And from this point, I'm just kind of trying to get through the rest of the night without getting hurt. Unfortunately, there are nights where that happens, and you kind of have to just struggle through it. So that's where I am right now after those weeks. I am currently in a position where I got 2 goals. One, figure out my thumb fit some more. As we know, I made some changes a while ago, and they were good, but with this new hand position, putting a bit more torque on everything, it's really, really rubbing hard on this outer part of my thumb right here. I spent a couple hours last night just working with my thumb holes and figuring out the best places to put tape here and in the holes in order to maybe try and make this a little bit easier to manage. And this is just a matter of also it's identifying where my mechanics are rough. So where I am right now, headspace wise, is resetting. I had a rough week. It was rough while I was bowling, and I was doing my best to manage and stay on some sort of still alive keel without being explosive. And I think I did okay in that regard. And then after, on the way home, just sort of thought and figured out what was specifically wrong. And that's where I nailed down to my thumb and just some things on my mechanics. Those are all things I can fix. And it won't always be this bad. It won't always be that rough. It's challenging because I thought I was starting to work my way up with the new mechanics. And I might still be. I might still be doing great. Just had a bad night with the thumb, which happens. At any rate, I hope the changes that I'm making to tape in my thumbs and on my thumb are going to help me out this coming week. I hope to bounce back. Always the goal is to get better, keep getting better, keep working forward. Going to keep on that path. And that's really all we can do. So thank you all again for watching. See you guys in the next one. Good luck and good bowling.